What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Optimus Fantasy Football channel. It is Friday, and as such, we are here for the Friday Vibes Show to help you get your lineups locked in for Week 5 of NFL action. I am Nate Palvo, joined by my co-host, the one and only Keith Fleming, repping his Falcons today on the show. That's Keith. That shirt's kind of old school, man. It reminds me of the late '90s, like red helmets with the black stripe down the middle.
Dude, we have the ugliest uniforms in the NFL, and I only mean that because how good the red uniforms look, the all black with the gray pants that we wore in the late 90s, early Vic days, and instead they go with whatever this crap is they're wearing now. So, but it's something all Falcons fans want. We're like, can we just go back to the red helmet, black jersey? Like, can we just do this? It's not that difficult.
I mean, it's like Bronco fans, man. I don't think we love the steroid horse. But we're 25 years into it at this point now. So what are you going to do, I guess? We want the D back. That's all. Just give us that D on the side of the helmet. I know. That's all. I mean, someday, one day, maybe, who knows? What I do know, Keith, this week's shaping up to be pretty brutal for fantasy football. Lot of injuries just
Good
in there.
Lord.
Every minute we've got a new one coming out. We're starting the week knowing that Malik Neighbors, Tyreek Hill, and James Conner are completely done. What we have heard over the last few days, Trey Benson out for 4 to 6 weeks, having knee surgery. Brock Purdy missed last night. We don't know when he's going to be back. And remember, I said to pay attention to that injury with Brock Purdy because they were calling it turf toe adjacent. We lost Joe Burrow basically for the season. I don't know why people didn't take this, including Shanny in San Francisco, didn't take this more seriously. I'm worried that we're going to lose Purdy for close to the rest of the season, Keith.
I think that Shanahan finally has Mac Jones, who he's wanted all along, and this is part of his master plan to get Jones going. In my pick and pull last night, I just didn't think any way with all those Niners injuries and the Rams, like by a ton of metrics, were one of the best defenses in the league through 4 weeks, and then they got torched by Mac Jones without really any of the Niners weapons outside of CMC. But I'm happy for him, man. And again, I just like so many of these QB, man. The situation is so important. And who knows if he was drafted by Shanahan, maybe we're having a totally different conversation about Mac Jones right now.
Casey and I talked about this yesterday on the flagship show. I think that, look, Trey Lance, there's no way that Trey Lance should have ever in any world gone ahead of Mac Jones. And I'm not saying that Mac Jones is all world, but Trey Lance just isn't that good of a quarterback. And obviously now he's nowhere to be found. He's a backup for the Chargers. And that's just who he is. Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. He got talked out of Mac Jones. He got forced into Trey Lance. Mac Jones in this San Francisco system is a very good quarterback. And again, like you said, we're having a completely different conversation about him. And by the end of this season, I feel like we are having a very different conversation about Mac Jones, about who he is, where he's going to be playing next season, and what his role will be on that team. I wouldn't hate the idea of him going back to Jacksonville and place Trevor Lawrence. They need to move on from Lawrence. Brian Thomas Jr. was freaking amazing.
BTJ definitely wants to hear that.
Well, yeah, I think he would. But Mac Jones can feed those kinds of receivers. I don't know. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence can't. So we've got our first question in the chat. Keith, we're going to go to it here. It's okay to laugh over on YouTube. He wants to know, Zach Charbonnet, Bill Krosky-Merritt, or Amari DiMercato this week. Which one are you rolling with?
Oof. So this is a really tough question because I just like the Washington backfield is a mess. Since the Eckler injury, Rodriguez first in rushing yards, McNichols second, everybody's boy Bill third. And Bill is, I think, one of the top 4 or 5 PFF graded running backs, so it doesn't really make a ton of sense. Sharbs has got a great opportunity if we can get him back to catching passes. That is something that is a great opportunity versus Tampa. They've given up 19 receptions to backs this year, but both Sharbs and Walker are so infrequently used in the passing game. I think they have less than an 8%, target share. And then with DiMercato, I think he has the most upside of these 3 guys, but I think a lot of people are going to be bummed to see Michael Carter end up getting the majority of at least the early down work. And Carter can catch passes too, but I do think that that's the best matchup of the three because, again, the Chargers are just such a stout run defense. Charbonnet versus the Bucks, again, like if you're not catching passes, that's a tough defense to run on, to where I do think the Cardinals are going to be able to kind of roll this week. So I would probably go with DeMarcado.
I think I'll go DeMarcado too. I think Michael Carter is going to be the lead back in this Arizona offense. He's the back here who's actually done that before. He was fairly efficient the one season where he was the RB1 in New York his rookie year. I think he had something around like 600 or 700 yards. I just talked about him on the DFS show. And I think he'll see the majority of the volume. That said, I think DeMarcado sees the majority of the fantasy relevant volume, the quality volume. I think he's going to see those third down touches. I think he's going to see the goal line work. And I think he's going to see more of the pass catching possibilities, if you will, in this offense. So for me too, it would be DeMarcado over Krosky and over Charbonnet. I just think he's got far more upside this week. We've got Tron Force on YouTube, lost Tyreek and need wide receivers. Just traded Wan'Dale Robinson and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt for Chris Olave and Devontae Smith. It's a PPR league. His wide receivers are now DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Travis Hunter, Cooper Kupp. His running backs, Keith, are CMC, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Warren, Kenny Gainwell, and Tyjae Spears. Having Gainwell behind Warren, who knew that was going to turn out so well for you? I think this is a good deal. Losing Tyreek Hill hurts. You're getting that volume, straight up volume from Olave. Hopefully it becomes more productive. And same thing with Devontae Smith. Hopefully he becomes more productive down the road. But I like this trade.
Yeah, I think he got the better players. I mean, again, I just said that the Washington backfield is a mess. Like they do, for whatever reason, I have not heard a good explanation for why JCM has just not kind of been allowed to be the guy, but it's just shocking that Eckler leaving is what's caused this just vacuum. But I mean, you're getting, I think, two receivers I trust way more than Wan'Dale Robinson. No offense to Wan'Dale Robinson. And I think the Eagles offense is going to throw more. They're going to have to if they want to get Barkley going. That is why Barkley is struggling so much, as he's facing 8 men in the box. He is averaging less yards per carry right now than he did yards before contact last year. And if that doesn't show you play calling matters, because they still have an elite offensive line. And then Olave is just going to be consistent. Like, is it going to be great? Probably not, because there's not a lot of upside with the Saints passing game, but that is a steady floor. And to me, he basically has turned into Wan'Dale Robinson, right? So you really traded JCM for Devontae Smith. So I think that you got the better end of that deal, especially with the backs he's got.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that about Olave basically turning into Wan'Dale Robinson. His yards per target this season right now, as it stands, is 4.3 yards per target. It's half of what it has been every other season in his career. So, Tron Force, we think you got the better side of this deal. Congratulations. You love to see it. We've got JHang20 on YouTube. Hi, who you got rest of season? Keith, Emeka Egbuka, or Rome Odunze? This is actually a tough call for me. I'm going to lean Odunze because I trust the volume more, but it's close for me. How about you, Keith?
I don't think it's close. Egbuka is incredible. I don't want it to come across as he's not. I know he's, we talked about this on me and Casey show on F6P about he's one of, I think, 13 rookies to have 250 yards and 4 touchdowns through his, first 4 games. But Odunze has just hit another level this year. Like, I wanted to make sure I got this right before I started just talking out my booty hole here. But he is for expected fantasy points, he's now all the way up to second. He is, obviously third in total fantasy points. He's 5th in fantasy points per route, 13th in fantasy points per target, 7th in EPA. And then what I really love is he is just shredding man and zone defenses right now. Over almost 4 basically yards per route run versus man, but 1.5 versus zone. The target rates versus man, 39.5% zone 20%. And that's not going to change. And then the fantasy points per target, which I think is just so impressive, over 2 fantasy points per target, man and zone. And he has eclipsed the number one receiver. I don't think DJ Moore is going to take back over that role to where with the Bucks, you got Godwin, you got Edmonds, you know what I mean? Like there will be other pieces of that offense or passing game that come back that's just, I think, going to limit Ibuka's upside his rookie year. So I just like, I think Odunze is a top 5 receiver all year this year.
Yes, and I do agree with most of that, but here's my thing with Ibuka, and this is why it's a little bit closer for me. I don't trust Chris Godwin's health rest of season. He's really slow to come back from injury, and that was a pretty bad injury at the end of last season. I really thought it was going to be week 6 or week 7 before we saw Godwin. And then you've got the hamstring injury to Mike Evans again for like the 80th time in his career. He's getting older. We don't know how quickly or how efficiently he's going to come back from this. We know he's probably coming back in 2 weeks, next week, 2 weeks. But when he does come back, is he going to be full speed, right? How long is Bucky Irving going to be out? The guy was in a walking boot earlier this week. That changes the dynamic of this offense. Again, it shifts from where they were actually able to run the ball a little bit more this season than they have in past seasons to we're back to Rachaad White, and they're not going to be able to run
don't
quite
forget
as
Sean
much.
Tucker. I think Sean Tucker is going to be. Dude, he was first in the league in yards per attempt last year. I know it was only like 39 carries, but he is somebody that I think can kind of handle the rushing thing. And the other thing, to your point, is just that Tampa's offensive line looks so much better week 1 with Wirth, which is obviously overall an advantage for Ibuka. But I just think there's so many mouths to feed in that offense. I agree with you, though, that he's already proved that he's been even better than I expected him to be year 1, just because of the offense he was in. Again, competing with all those targets.
Sure.
He's the real deal. And it was one of the few times that everybody kind of, probably overhyped him, right? Like going into the season, maybe took him too early if you look like how much his ADP and everything rose at the end. And we were right. And that rarely happened. So very happy about that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Big fan of Emeka Egbuka. All right, let's move on to this one here. We've got Galaxy Pickers on YouTube. Wants to know, Keith, start Jordan Addison or Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt this week in flex. Which way are you going on this?
Oh, definitely Addison. I mean, last week was a nightmare in the terms of like the Vikings had those several injuries, which I think they were caught off guard, getting all those injuries to the offensive line. And still Addison had a monster game. So like, that's a great sign. And then on top of that, like Cleveland, you can't run the ball against them. It's freaking impossible. Like they are so good versus the run. But what does that mean? Teams are going to be forced to throw the ball. And we've seen in this Minnesota offense when Addison and Jefferson are in the lineup, obviously Jefferson gets the biggest share, but it's kind of like a mini Rams situation, with Puka and Adams, where it's like those two guys are getting 70, 80% of the targets. And I don't care if it's, Wentz, McCarthy, whoever, like Addison is somebody that way better than I ever thought he would be, especially again on the same team as Justin Jefferson. It's just crazy that he makes all these huge plays that make you go, holy cow, they got 2 guys that are that good. And it's why so many people were so hyped that if JJ McCarthy can end up being, what a lot of people were hoping, that Vikings offense, like on the passing side, could be elite, especially with how good Kevin O'Connell is at drawing up plays.
If only they had a quarterback. But what I will say, and I'm with you, we're starting Jordan Addison. As much as I don't like Carson Wentz as a fantasy asset, he's good for the receivers around him because he's a gunslinger. It's like having Jay Cutler, but just not quite as good. But yeah, I'm starting Addison. Not even a question here. Our old friend Jamie Parag dropping in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He's in a TD, a big bonus only league. Lost Chuba Hubbard. Should he start Michael Carter or Rico Dowdle? Keith, for me, it's Rico Dowdle, no question.
I think it's kind of close. I think I would lean Dowdle. It's just Tennessee is so bad defensively that I just think that if Carter is getting the early down work, we're probably assuming then he gets the red zone touches. He probably falls into the end zone, right? Is what I'm kind of thinking. But I think Rico Dowdle, like I love Chuba Hubbard, don't get me wrong, but I think Dowdle is not a huge fall off for this Carolina offense. My bigger concern with Carolina this week is just Coker's still on IR. Now you don't have Hubbard. It looks like Sanders is going to be out again. I know that sounds like good things for Donald, but I just worry, are they going to be able to move the ball? Because last week versus a New England defense that, like, it's been okay, not like out of this world. They really struggled, especially once they got in just pass situation where they couldn't really, run the ball because they were down so big. But I would still lean Dowdle. I actually think both of them have a decent chance to score, though.
I think Dowdle has a better chance to score than Carter. I just think DeMercado is going to get the short yardage work. But we'll see. I mean, I don't either or. It is kind of a toss-up, I suppose. We've got Joe Colley over on YouTube. Start Devonta Smith over Jordan Mason this week. Would you do it, Keith?
I can't start any running back versus the Cleveland Browns. I told people to sit Josh Jacobs 2 weeks ago, and people were looking at me like I was insane. Like, this Cleveland run defense is for real. Like, they just do not give up rushing yards. They don't give up rushing touchdowns. So I'm going to roll with Devontae.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Devontae too. I'm not a believer in Jordan Mason, Keith. Just not. I don't think. I get the situation and the opportunity, and Aaron Jones is on IR, but he's just not that efficient of a runner. He, as a full-time back, is a fill-in back.
Like, if he doesn't get 20 plus attempts, he normally is not a very fantasy relevant guy. Now, when he gets 20 plus attempts, he usually is, because he kind of busts like one big one or whatever. But I just don't see it this week versus Cleveland. I think they're going to be, again, forced to throw a lot if they want to move the ball and not have just like a rock fight against them.
Yep. Nope. I completely agree. All right, let's move on to this one here. Another one from Galaxy Pickers. 3-0, 13-team league. His roster is as follows: Bo Nix, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Bashal Tutin, Michael Carter, CeeDee Lamb, Rome Odunze, Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Darnell Mooney, Jaleel McMillan, and then Dallas Goedert, and I'll get there, and Jalen McMillan, Dallas Goedert, and TJ Hawkinson. Make moves to bolster a certain position or hang tight. I'm not moving.
13-team leagues, do they get a bye? Is that why he's 3-0 even though there's been 4 weeks?
Those leagues are always going to have a bye.
Okay. I was just curious. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. The only position I maybe would want to upgrade at is tight end. But also, I'd probably, if you're not happy at tight end, because I wouldn't be happy, Hawkinson's tight end, I think 16, 18. And Goddard's just hanging out at the top of the back end of tight end 1 territory. I'd stream tight ends. I wouldn't drop one of them, but I'd stream tight ends the rest of the season until one of them heats up, if one of them heats up.
I have a little concern about his QB. With Bo Nix. I mean, like, I know he's a good fantasy quarterback, but I have not loved what I've seen from this Broncos offense this year. Like, again, we can't count versus Cincinnati. I'm sorry. Like, you just can't. They're so bad right now. And that would be my one concern. But if you want to make an upgrade, you easily can, because you're loaded at wide receiver. And, like, Ladd McConkey, I believe, is eventually going to get things going. Or if Keenan Allen gets injured, we know he will get things going, which is very likely. I was shocked with the way Worthy played. You have Addison and Odunze, which is, man, did you nail a 13-team draft to get both of those guys? Yeah. You're going to get CeeDee Lamb back. Jalen McMillan's coming. Like, the receiver would be the position. I'd be okay moving 2 or 3 of these guys to make a big upgrade at quarterback, running back, or again, if you want to go get a stud tight end just to fill out the roster, you have the depth there in a 13-team league where I am sure, even if you're offering Ladd and say like Addison, people are going to be sending you, lots of offers, or Ladd and Worthy, who I think Worthy is a guy that if he has another good game, go ahead and unload him, because once Rashid Rice comes back, his volume is going to take a big hit. And we know he's already playing banged up. And if he had 2 big games, coming back from the injury, people might be really hyped to go get him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I believe in Nix a little bit more than you do apparently, but it's because I live in Denver. So we're going to move on from the Broncos slander to this next one here.
He's like, you're a Falcons fan. Are you really serious right now, Keith? You want to get into this?
I'm not going to start in on Michael Penix. I'm trying to be nice, all right?
Well,
it's a new month.
Game of the year. If it would have been the week before, oh my God, I wouldn't even want to talk about quarterbacks. We scored 0 points at Carolina.
Oh, that was brutal. All right, we've got Chance F 20,000 over on Twitch. Should I start Hunter Henry or Malik Washington as a flex? Hunter Henry. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hunter Henry leads the team in targets. I believe he lost maybe receiving yard because of the big day that Diggs had last week, but pretty much across the board, he is their number one target. I think that Hunter Henry is like a must-start guy right now, and I've been playing a lot of bully tight end this year, because I got lucky and actually took some of these tight ends like Ferguson, et cetera, that were not like a large capital, but I ended up taking them kind of in those, middle to teen rounds, and I've been playing bully tight end in several leagues.
I've been doing that for a couple of years, but this is a class where this season it feels more possible, especially with guys like Hunter Henry emerging, and he really has been. He only had 2 targets last week, but one of them was a touchdown, so he still had 11 fantasy points. He's tight end 4 on the season, despite week 2 against Miami, he had 1 catch for 9 yards. Yeah. He had 1.9 PPR.
And last week wasn't his fault. It's just New England got up so big they weren't really throwing. It was pass attempts this season.
And those game script things happen, even to players who are just absolutely crushing everyone around him. And that's what happened with Hunter Henry. I'm not worried about him this week whatsoever. I would definitely start him. I'm not interested in any of these Dolphins assets, really, at all.
Other than A-Chain, right?
I think A-Chain.
Yeah.
A-Chain, but he's about it. We have got George C. on YouTube, half PPR league Keith. He's 1-3. His running backs are Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, and Chase Brown. Wide receivers are Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Ricky Pearsall, Matthew Golden, Khalil Shakir. Do we think he would be crazy to trade Jefferson and Breece for Saquon and A.J. Brown?
I don't think it's crazy. I probably wouldn't do it. But, you're 1-3, so you're already fighting an uphill battle. And maybe Philadelphia, again, it's a new offensive coordinator, which is, I think, one thing people forget. He's probably going to, you would hope, get better as the season goes along, figuring out, okay, what do I need to do? And I said, Barkley, all of Barkley's issues are just the play calling, because he's still top 5 in avoiding tackles and breakaway run. There's a lot of stuff. It's just, again, he does not have that almost 4 yards, I think, before contact, which is what he was averaging last year. And that's because defenses are putting 8 men in the box against him. So if you are, really confident the Eagles are going to, get a lot better as this season goes on, I think it's a good deal, because I don't think Breece Hall is going to end up being a top running back, but you are giving away the player I feel most confident about the way things are right now in Justin Jefferson, to do so.
I think I would do this. I believe that this Philly offense is going to right itself. Atrocious play calling, and they feel off. This whole offense feels off. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. They'll get right. I'm completely okay with it. And getting rid of Breece.
4-0. It just seems like it doesn't matter what they do. I hate them so much, man.
I know. And here's my thing with Breece Hall. This feels like it's going to be a somewhat streaky season. He had the 19 carries for 107 week 1. Then he had 5.8 fantasy points and 9.2 PPR points the following 2 weeks. He has 16.1 last week, but is he going to keep that up? At some point, Justin Fields is going to take over as the guy who's primarily running the ball. And whether that's designed runs or it's because things just start falling apart, they're behind a bunch and he has to run. I worry that we're going to see Breece Hall at 10 to 15 carries some weeks. I'd rather have Saquon, who's someone that is going to see volume. It's just not clicking right now. Like you were saying, it's just not clicking right now, but it will. I'd rather have Saquon and AJ for pretty much the stretch run of the season. And yeah, I would do this. I think it's a good call here. George wanting us to know.
Don't pick up Davis, though, if you end up staying with Hall and Jefferson, because to your point now with Braylon Allen out for the season, I do think that there's a chance we see a shift as the season goes on if Breece Hall isn't more efficient than he's been, because even in the big games, he hasn't been extremely efficient with kind of what the Jets are doing.
Well, I mean, 5.6 and 5.7 yards per carry in those 2 games. It's not
Right,
bad.
but I'm saying
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not. But he had like big runs in those games, like right. Like if you look
sure.
at it's one of those deals that like 2-3 runs accounted for like 70% of his. And I'm with you. It's just like the red zone stuff is what's so scary because Justin Fields is going to get most of those rushing touchdowns.
Bingo, and that's the problem. So I think this is a good deal. And yeah, your thought process, better team, better QB play, 2 higher upside players given their offenses. Your thought process is in the right
I like
place.
it. I do. And you're 1 and
Yeah,
3. So like, I mean, you feel like you probably need to, do something. And there's a lot worse players you could be getting than AJ Brown, who's probably the most physically intimidating wide receiver in the league, and Saquon Barkley, who's probably the most physically gifted
yeah,
running back in the league.
yep. No, again, we're all for this, George. Back to some of the injuries. Here's the one that really gets me, and it's the Bucky Irving injury, because there was no real indication that this was anything serious as we came out of the weekend. We get to Wednesday, and the man is in a freaking walking boot. Are you concerned that we're going to miss Bucky for longer than what they're saying? Because right now they're saying it could be like 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and we might have him back. I feel like we're going to lose him for the season, Keith.
I hope that's not the case. And I mean, I'm actually somebody that was telling people to not draft Bucky, which didn't look too smart, with the way he started the season, despite
Right.
Worth being out. But this was my concern, was if they made him a featured back, is Bucky like big enough? Because if you look down the stretch last year when he's having those mega games, he got really nicked up. It was like every week he would have like multiple things that were, making him questionable for the game. And the other thing about Tampa is just, I think they have 3 good backs, like not great backs by any means, but all 3 of those backs are serviceable. Tucker, White, and Bucky, and also them getting off to such a good start probably makes it more likely they're not going to rush him back, right? Like, and I wouldn't. You've already got enough injuries that you don't want, Bucky to be out for like, if it's a difference between 2 or 4 weeks, take the 4, give him the full month. But it'd be a shame because we saw on Sunday again just what Bucky can do when he's going. That friggin' run down the sideline, dude. He was moving 4 million miles an hour, and it's like, how was that dude in a boot when he was moving that fast? Just a couple of days earlier.
Well, and his PPR upside last week, 5 catches for 102 and a touchdown. Like, come on, man. It really sucks to have him out. But I'm worried, and I really am worried that this is going to last longer. I'm worried this could be 5-6 weeks, something in
Kind of
that
like a Brock Purdy
neighborhood.
deal, right? Where like it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you kind of rush him back, he could end up just getting hurt even more. And
Otherwise, yep. We've got Jamie Prog dropping this one in the chat, Keith. Traded away Kenny Walker and TJ Hawkinson for Trevion Henderson and Jaden Reed. The other tight ends are Trey McBride and Tyler Warren. Wasn't starting Hawk anyway. Thoughts on the value? Jamie is super high on Henderson as a top 6 dynasty running back. I'm with you, Jamie. In Dynasty, I am all on Trayvon Henderson. He will at some point take over this backfield. It just won't be this year. But I think this is a good move. I do like Jaden Reed when he's healthy. I think he'll find a more significant role in this offense once he does come back, if he comes back and he's healthy. So all around, I think this is a good deal. And unloading TJ Hawkinson, I don't know how much long-term value he realistically has at this point.
I mean, not only that, he has the best 2 tight ends not named Brock Bowers to have in Dynasty moving forward. Like, holy smokes. And that's something that I might consider, if you're trying to compete this year or looking for a big haul, like you could potentially trade either McBride or Warren and get, I would think, a king's ransom for it. Yeah.
Oh, no, for sure. I'd trade Warren probably before I trade McBride, just because I feel like there are other parts in the Indy offense that could take away some of his volume at some point once this offense gets rolling a little bit better. It's already rolling, but once they get more used to each other, I guess. Once there's
and Warren's
more
probably got more value right now with the way things have started and everything. Yeah.
Well, and people are afraid of that Arizona offense in fantasy, and I get it. It's been ugly. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is borderline unstartable at this point.
I feel so bad for him, man. Kyler is just like they need to realize like that when they made the Rosen pick, they immediately realized that the error of their ways, and they went out and got Kyler, which was an upgrade. But the stat that I saw, I was going into week 3 or after week 3, it's like 70% of Kyler's dropbacks turned into an off-target throw, rush attempt, or sack. That is not good. It's by far the worst in the NFL. And they have weapons. I mean, like McBride and Harrison are both guys that can get open, but you got to have somebody and get them the ball.
And Kyler's not that guy. I have been saying for it feels like a decade now, but at least a couple of years, Kyler should have played baseball. And I understand that the money as a number 1 overall pick was so attractive, and you had Cliff Kingsbury drooling over him ahead of the draft, which I thought was incredibly silly as well. But here we are, and for me, I have no shares of Kyler Murray in fantasy. I moved off of him in Dynasty, got what I could for him while people still believe in him. I think we've reached a tipping point with him where managers are starting to move off of Kyler Murray, and you have to wonder, Keith, how long is Jonathan Gannon going to be able to put up with this and keep his job?
Yeah, if you're not like, I think if Kyler Murray went to, for instance, a Shane Steichen offense, right, where like what we're seeing with Daniel Jones, I think a coordinator like that could make Kyler an effective NFL quarterback. But it's very few play callers that have the ability and insight to get those kind of guys that are very athletic, but also inaccurate and, struggle throwing the ball down the field to be efficient. And like you see what Steichen did, he's done it with Hurts. He's doing it now with Daniel Jones. Like he's just great at that. And I think unless Kyler's in a situation like that, he's going to struggle. And the worst part, if you do own Kyler Murray, typically, I think because of his size, he gets beaten up as the season goes on. And usually his best games are early in the season, not late in the season in terms of fantasy scoring.
Well, at times too with Murray, it feels like he doesn't care.
He's wanting to play video games.
Yeah. Jokes about Call of Duty aside, it does feel like he's there to collect a paycheck at times. And you can see it in the way the whole team around him plays. But no, we all love video games. I'd like to just go sit and play Madden the rest of the night. But no, I have to be a parent.
It's a shame, too. The Cardinals have a pretty talented roster all of a sudden. And like that, to me, is what's so glaring is that they've got some difference makers on defense. They have some difference makers on offense, and it's just not there. And I actually like their coach, too, Jonathan Gannon.
I think Gannon's a good defensive coach. I don't know that he's cut out to be
a hard gig, man. I don't know why those guys would want to be a head coach. Like if you were a really good OC or DC and you're getting obviously, 7 figures just to, call play. I don't know why they want to be a head coach. Head coach is so much more pressure and everything. Like give me Vic Fangio, right? Who's been a defensive coordinator for a gazillion teams. He's won Super Bowls. And like, to me, that would be the gig. There's no way I'd want to be a head coach.
No, you know what I also don't understand is NFL head coaches who go to the college level.
Hello, Bill Belichick.
Right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. This will be easy. This is going to be easy going to the college level. You do realize that instead of having a GM to sign players for you through an agent, you have to go sit at these people's homes in their living rooms with their families and convince their entire family to come to your school when they've got Michigan and Nebraska and Ohio State and Texas all coming after. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I lose comment right here. Hubris.
That's probably it, Lou. That's why you're a smart guy.
Yeah. Well, it's like guys like Chip Kelly coming to the NFL, and you're like, you're not a good head coach in the NFL level. Great at college, but it's 2 different types of people. I don't know, man.
It's almost like you're a CEO as a head coach. You know what I mean? Like it's more about like leading other people than it is like they're not the ones typically calling plays or coming up with schemes. Like if you have good coordinators, you rely on that.
Yep. Oh, 100%. We got this one coming in from the YouTube, and then we are going to get out of here and get on with our Friday, Keith. Caden, half PPR, start 1 wide receiver and 1 flex out of this group. Deebo Samuel, Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Etienne, and Courtland Sutton. I think immediately for me, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brian Thomas Jr. are off, so it comes down to these other 3.
I think
Probably going
Debo's like an automatic start for me. Again, Washington's still pretty banged up. You may get Daniels back, and in the games they've been down, oh my God, has Debo just gone
to, I know.
bananas? So I
Yep.
would say Debo for sure. Then I'm in the Sutton ETN, and I'm going to lead ETN because Sutton is facing the number 1 corner per PFF,
Yep.
and the corner on the other side, Cooper DeJean, is the number 5 corner per PFF. Howie Roseman can kiss my ass. How he keeps doing this, I have no idea, but they have so much talent. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Denver. And again, probably a rock fight because we've seen Philly
Yep.
can't pull away from anybody.
Yeah. This is going to be a very good game. Yeah, I'm with you.
About it. Yeah.
Debo and Etienne. I'm out on Sutton for the same reasons. One more here, Mr. Nice Guy over on YouTube. What up, y'all? Full PPR. Pick 3 out of this list to start. Tyquan Thornton, Devontae Smith, Jalen Tolbert, Darius Slayton. Immediately, I'm going to go Tolbert. He's now the wide receiver 2. Then I think I'm going to go Thornton and Smith. I don't trust Slayton to get involved in a super condensed offense in New York that I think is mostly going to funnel through Wan'Dale Robinson, Jackson Dart, and Cam Scatabo on the ground. So
I disagree on the Slayton thing. I mean, he did see 5 targets last week when Dart didn't throw the ball very much and 4 receptions. Big part of that game Neighbors played, and it's just a bigger sample size of when Neighbors has been out. Dude, seeing like 29% target share, almost 36% of the first reads, and I think averaging like 85 yards per game. And just like Darius Slayton is a sneaky good wide receiver. And I think that they're going to be, obviously, like your point, like he's not going to get tons of volume because the Giants, if they're in games, are not going to throw a lot. But with the kind of run heavy offense that they have with Scatterbo and Dart, it's going to open up opportunities for big chunk plays in the play action. And that is where Slayton really thrives, is down the field. He's a very underrated, like down the field wide receiver, probably because he's a little undersized, but I like him more than Thornton. But I think it's close. And to be honest, like I don't even hate you playing Thornton, Slayton, and Tolbert because by the way, Denver also has very good corners, and their weakness is really more running backs in the middle of the field, like tight end. I could see both of these offenses in that Denver-Philadelphia game having a real hard time throwing the ball.
I get the feeling that Devonta Smith is going to get used over the middle of the field a little bit more.
And he's not going to have Surtain on him, probably, right?
Yeah, exactly. He'll probably have PJ. It'll either be Riley Moss or PJ Locke, and either or is better than Surtain. If he's got Riley Moss, it should be a pretty good game for Devonta Smith, I would think.
Noted. I have to remember that.
Yep. Guys, we do have to get out of here. I see we have a couple more comments in the chat and questions. If you would like to get those questions answered, guys, head over to our Discord channel. The link is in the show description below. Make sure you get over there. We've got all kinds of fantasy football advice, betting, DFS, and just general fun chat. So make sure you
can
check
hit me up on Twitter too, and I'll be happy to respond. If you follow me, I need a follow. But if you do that, seriously, you can then send me a DM. Just send me a message or question. Yep. I'm happy to answer it. And that's in general. Like if I have time, I love getting questions. I love doing this with you. And just like, it's one of the reasons I love doing this, helping people. So don't ever hesitate on social media to just send me a message. You don't even have to put it like on my page. Send me a DM and say, hey, I'm thinking this. What do you think? Always happy to respond.
Yep. We love to do this, guys. So please pepper us with the questions. And before you set your lineups this weekend, head over to tools.optimusfantasy.com. 25% off your first 4 months with the promo code OptimusFall. We have got all of the data tools, snap analyzers. We've got an empty air yards tool that will tell you some of these wide receivers that are just seeing volume, but it's not worth anything whatsoever. Make the right lineup decisions and get 25% off the next 4 months with the promo code OptimusFall. Keith, it's been great having you here, man. It's been great to have you back on the show, and it's great to do this Friday Vibes. We love all the questions. If you tuned in today, if you're listening to the audio version tonight, or you're watching us later here on YouTube, again, check out Discord in the show description. You can shoot us questions on all of our social medias, Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitter, right here on YouTube below the show as well. Keith, It's been a blast, man. We'll be back next
Absolutely.
week. Same time, same channel. Until then, you can find Lou, Evan, and I on the Start Sit show tomorrow. Or I'm sorry,
Yes,
not
very
tomorrow.
Sunday, but it's very good.
Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, folks, have a great rest of your weekend. Adios.